Well, let's see what we're gonna do today. Let's see what we've got. We've got a full parking lot, that's for sure. Waiting on parts, waiting on pickup. That one back there, I need to put an engine in it, that Duramax. That one's done. That one's getting rejected and going back to the buy here, pay here lot. That one came in today. This one I've got to pull the transmission out of. It needs a torque converter. This one's done, going back to California. This one's been parked for 7 years and has a contaminated fuel system. That one's been abandoned here. I bought that one. Fiero siding. That's my van. Let's go with the Jeep. What do you guys say? Let's go with the Jeep. Yeah, we're gonna do the Jeep today. Got a Jeep here that got towed, and this should be pretty easy. They said they put a new battery and a new starter or something in it, and it starts, or it started it, but it keeps dying while driving, something along those lines. So I think we're gonna do some rechecking of some things and some diag work and all that good stuff. Portable jump start thing right here. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we've got an electrical problem. I don't hear any chimes. Yeah. The ignition switch is broken too. That's because it's got a push button conversion. There we go. All right, well, we have no electrons. That's an issue here. Oh man, I'm ahead of schedule here. I forgot to tell everybody, good day to you guys. Welcome back to the channel. Glad you guys are here. Clearly we're gonna start working on this old Jeep here. I think this is a late 90s Jeep, maybe a 99. New battery. This is not exactly a new battery. It may be new to the vehicle. You see it's clean, but see how we have no label? Really, that's just some generic label on there. Group 65, cold cranking amp rating. This is a reconditioned battery. So what'll happen is when you buy a battery for your car, there's gonna be a core charge on that. So let's say the parts store sells me a battery for $200. They're actually gonna charge me closer to $220 or $230 because I'm putting in that's falling down. I'm putting in a deposit to ensure that I take the old battery and return it to the parts store, because this battery is full of lead. Lead is a precious metal and is expensive. So they want to put these through the recycling chain. Well, before these batteries get cracked open and spilled and destroyed, they're gonna do a process called desulfation. They're gonna try to recondition that. See, the reason a battery will fail over time is as it's discharged. I wonder if I can pop this off of here. We can see. Let me get a screwdriver. I want to show you what's in there. Actually, let's get a screwdriver and a prop rod so that hood doesn't come crashing down on my noggin. I'll hold the hood up and pry open the battery at the same time. All right, so what we're going to discuss here is going to be most applicable to lead acid batteries, clearly. There's different kinds of batteries. There's glass mat batteries, there's gel type of batteries, but the most common is going to be your lead acid. And basically you just have a containment box with a bunch of lead plates submersed in acid, and through utilizing the anodes and cathodes and electrodes and all that, yeah, you can see a plate right down there. See him? See a little plate in the hole? But anyway, through the series of plates and acids and an anode and a cathode, we're able to store a voltage, to store some electrons. And that's what we have here, is we have an electron containment unit. So down inside those holes, you can see there's a plate. You got a plate here, 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 and a plate here. 6 plates. Each plate will produce roughly 2 volts. All those 2 volts added up, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, etc., gives you your 12-volt battery. Now, yes, that voltage does fluctuate depending on the charge level. So typically what will happen is as the battery ages, that sulfur, or the fluid inside the electrolyte solution, that will boil because we have heat. Okay? So when it boils, on occasion, it will be venting out either through these caps, and some batteries have a vent on the side of them to allow the gases to escape. So as those gases boil due to excessive heat on the plates, that fluid level will drop down. Additionally, a battery that's heavily discharged will absorb some of that electrolyte solution into the plate, and the level will also drop down. What will happen is the fluid level inside, as it drops down, will expose the tops of those plates. And when the tops of those plates become exposed, they can corrode or sulfate. And once they corrode and sulfate, the surface area of said plate is lessened, so capacity is diminished, so the remaining section of the plates have to work harder to perform the function, and we have ourselves a little downward spiral of performance. So that's a sulfated battery. What happens in a situation like this is a sulfated battery that no longer holds a charge will get returned to the part store. They'll send it to their recyclers or whoever, and then what they will do is they'll put the battery on a desulfating machine, which basically just pulses low levels of voltage to it. Pulse, 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 pulse. Those pulsations will actually vibrate the plates inside and try to reduce the amount of the buildup and sulfation on said plates. So they try to restore the battery. This battery right here, since it's not labeled and it's got no identifying marks on it, except for what it is and what it's rated for, this is a reconditioned, previously sulfated battery. So they probably ran it through a desulfator, dumped out all the electrolyte solution, refilled it with a new one, charged the thing back up, and then sold it for a discount price. Clearly, that battery has 0 electrons left over. We have no power inside, unless we've got a open circuit or a blown fuse or something, but I do not think that that's the case, because we should have at least had some chimes. Look at that arc. Yep. All right, so we're sitting at 12.2 with this battery installed. Let's go hit the button and fire this thing up here. Yep, look, we got power in here. Radio's on, dash is on, mileage is on at 144,851 miles on the odometer. Starting the engine. There we go. Yep. A little rattly too. All right, so we've got a bunch of stuff under the hood. Let's get this thing kind of nosed in. I'm afraid to put the window down. There's tape on it. It's never a good sign. Yeah, we're gonna spin this bad boy around, get it nosed into the shop real quick, like shut it down so we're not cranking a bunch of heat into it. I'm going to, I guess step one is put a charger on that battery and charge it. And then we can do a test on it. I think I'll do an actual physical load test on it with a carbon pile tester, and I'll do a digital analyzing test on it as well. There's a couple different testing protocols we can use. That's here for an alignment. Past the door of death, past the Mercedes, past the piles of oil and water. There we go. Right on in. Beautimus. And shut down. That is the correct order of operations. Alright, step one. Let's charge this battery up as much as possible. And then we'll begin some testing protocols. I got a feeling either this battery is super junk or something drew it down. And we'll have to find out what drew it down. A little bit of light on the subject here. Surface of the sun mode engaged. Charger's plugged in. I've left this charger on it because this battery is stone cold dead. And all these modern battery chargers, they require some voltage to be seen on the circuit before they begin charging. It's not like the old school chargers where you turned it on, it just started cranking power out of it. If it doesn't see voltage on the circuit, it will not begin charging. So we're going to borrow the voltage off this battery to lend it over to this battery so that this charger can understand that it needs to be supplying current to the battery. Now we can see right here we're at 13.3, which means we do have current going in. And that's fine because we can also charge this little battery up simultaneously. So we're going to bring this thing up to a charge, let that thing do its deal. We'll come back to this momentarily after it should have charged up some, and we'll run some testing protocols on the battery to see if this battery is any good or not. Okay, we need one digitalized battery tester and then one analog tester. There she is. Think of this thing like a giant toaster with a gauge, because that's pretty much what it is. There's a bunch of resistive elements inside. You can see the spool right there. Some cables connecting these cables to the element, and got an amp meter and a voltmeter. So when we plug this unit in, this voltmeter is going to tell us just how much voltage is on the circuit. The amp meter is going to tell me how many amps this machine is pulling from the source. And then our little gauge dial right here, this allows us to dial in and turn up the amount of amperage. So the theory being is we apply a load to the battery, and then we observe battery voltage, and we watch the voltage drop as the load increases. If we reach a certain point of load and it does not hang on to the voltage at an X amount of load, then we can conclude that the battery does not have current delivering capacity. And we need current to make things like electric motors and pumps and all that good stuff work. So we've got to have some current. We're going to think of voltage, think of it like a garden hose actually. Your voltage is your pressure behind it. Resistance will be your nozzle, which slows down your flow, and then your power behind that flow is your current. So if we take our hose and we unscrew the end of it, we've got a bunch of current pouring out, but voltage would be low because there's no resistance like the nozzle to hold back the pressure, so the pressure just pours out and it takes all of its energy with it. When we add some resistance to the circuit with the nozzle, we're harnessing the voltage, and then we're utilizing the current from that voltage. That's the work that we're trying to do. We're utilizing that current, which is the water spraying out. That's our pressurized water doing its washing duties or whatever you want to do with it. So we can think of electricity like water in terms of resistance, voltage, pressure, and current flow. Hope that makes sense, and I hope I didn't confuse anybody. So now, let's just go ahead and move that thing over there and break the PCV system. There we go. That means I can move this guy over here. We're just gonna daisy chain connect everything together all at once because electricity and safety. Let's see, that one can go over there, and then this one can go right here. There we go, now we're connected. So, look at our voltmeter here. Again, we're seeing just over 13 volts. We have no current being pulled by this unit. And we'll confirm voltage right there, 13.4. There we go. Here, let's crank up the amperage here a little bit. That's also going to give us some more voltage. There we go. No amps here because we're not drawing any into our toaster. We're only sending amps into the batteries right now. And I have it set for 50 amps, but my gauge is not reflecting 50 amps. Yeah. The lights flickered. High speed mode, low speed mode. All right, let's give this thing some time, let this battery come up, we'll test it, and then determine what we have to do next. Okay, X amount of predetermined time has passed, and I have made the conclusion that that's good enough. So we're going to, I'm going to turn down the charger. Yeah, there's some heat in there. That battery's a little warm. Okay, so let's check our current sitting voltage, 13.1. So after a fresh charge, we've got kind of a full battery. So I want to dissipate that surface charge because a resting 12 volt battery should not be hanging out at 13 volts at idle. It should be 12.7, 12.8, 12.9. 13.1's a little much. So we're just going to kick on the headlights for a second. It's going to deplete that surface charge, and let's see what we get. There we go, 12.8. I'll take that. Okay, so our testing protocol altering surface charge is gone. If you run one of these digital testers on a battery that just came off of the charger, it'll give you a false good battery reading. So you want to just kick those headlights on to eliminate that excess voltage that's hanging out. Get on there. How about over here? There's so many things. There's just so many things in the way. Okay, so 650 cold cranking amps capacity. That's what we're going to test. We will enter, we'll go battery test. It's a regular flooded battery, not an AGM or a glass pack. Cold cranking amps, yes. Scale her down to 650. No. For all the haters out there. Yes, darling. Testing. You're leaving. Where are you going? All right, hang on a second. All right, that says healthy battery, 54% state of health, 400 cold cranking amps measured, 100% charge at 12.97 volts. Internal resistance is 6.25 mega ohms, and this thing says it's a good battery. Hang on there, kiddo. I'll come tell you bye in a second. Hang on, guys. Dad things. I'll be right back. Let's go ahead and back away from modernity and just do this old school. We're just going to apply a load to the battery, and then we're just going to measure the load. Real simple like. Uh-oh. Hang on, that wasn't simple. Like I clipped my big roach clips together. Oh, there we go. Now we have to remove that battery from the circuit. Otherwise, this tester will test the capacity of that battery at the same time. So there's our sitting voltage. Let's crank up some electron resistance here. 100 amps. 200 amps. Let's go ahead and give it 3. We're rolling smoke out of the connector. 300 amps down to 10 volts. Let's kill it. Yeah, look, we've lost some voltage here. That 300 amps, that's about what the starter would be asking for if you went to go ahead and crank this thing up. So let's go ahead and do another cranking event. Starting, we're dropping voltage. Look at that, it's falling like a rock. Yep. And there's our low volt alarm. We're in replace territory. Rolling smoke out of it again. Feel that? Stanky. Smells like electrical fire. That's all the dirt and stuff burning off the inside of this little caged little dealio here. If we were to turn off the lights and then crank this thing up, you could see those elements inside glowing red, and this thing is producing a little bit of heat. So after 2 simulated cranking events, let's just stick this digi charger back on and see what it has to say about the condition of the battery. It might fail it, and it might say, nah, we're fine. Or the battery's good and the vehicle is drawing the power down. So let's just go through our test. Same thing one more time. 655, testing. Testing. Battery test, good battery, 48%, 452 cranking amps, 82% state of charge. I'm not so convinced. We went from 100, we lost 18% of our battery's charge with just 2 cranking cycles. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not convinced, so let's go check this out on a known good battery. I've taken the initiative just in case and ordered a replacement. This is not a super top-end battery, it's an economy battery, but let's see how this one behaves under 300 amp load. So there's our voltage, just over 12 volts. This is full. Let's give it 300 amps. Cranking. There it is, 300. This one right here, we're holding just over or just under 11 volts. There's my taking too long alarm. Give it some more juice. We're still holding, look at that. We'll sit here all day. So, ooh, that's hot. Yeah, that's some power we're pulling through there. So, what I believe here is that this battery in this vehicle is naturally depleting because of its condition. It's a reconditioned battery, and the condition that we find that the condition is in is that this battery is discharging or is not exactly capable of servicing this vehicle the correct way. So let's test the nadir real quick while we're here. Since we got the toaster oven out, let's go full cook it down mode, and let's start and run the engine. It's still rolling smoke. Let's start and run the engine, and then put a load on the alternator just to make sure that this alternator is producing the output required. Yeah, voltage good, we're turned off, still smoking, that's awesome. I'm sure we've got enough in here for one more start event, don't we? Key on, push button, NASCAR. Voltage is a little weak for an alternator, a little bit. It's a newish nadir though. Let's throw some load on it, see what happens. Yeah, it's kind of a weak alternator too. Here, let's supply extra battery and repeat the same test. Where's the deal at? There you are. Come out, wherever you are lost at. There we are. $13.3, $13.2. I accept that. 300 amps. You hear that, nadir? Look, even a voltage difference. Watch this. We're going to disconnect that battery. Watch voltage fall. See it fall a little bit? That's battery reconnected. Disconnected. Kill it. Voltage came back up. So this alternator is spending all of its time and energy just trying to maintain a charge in this battery right here. When we added that battery to it, voltage spiked up a little bit because some of that supplemental voltage in this battery, even though the alternator was producing its own voltage, that was the voltage coming out of the battery was more than the system was producing due to this thing consuming up all of the battery power, or all the power that the alternator was making. So that's three confirmations that this thing right here is El Junco and it needs to go away. So let's shut the truck down. I'm gonna slap that other battery in there. As we disconnect it, I'm gonna go ahead and hook my meter up to it just to do a quick parasitic draw test. We wanna see if there's anything pulling down electrons from this vehicle just while it's parked or whatever. Okay, these cables are cooking. Stress test. Okay, let's get rid of this guy. You go back over there. You go right back over there. Beautiful. So what we're going to do, I'm going to disconnect the negative cable right here. We're going to get the multimeter and we're going to connect this cable to the battery terminal through the meter, and then the meter is going to tell me how many electrons are flowing through the meter while the vehicle is supposedly at rest. If millivolt reading is low, then there's no draw. If we're pulling like 1 amp, 2 amp, even half of an amp, then we know something in the vehicle is pulling down the battery while it's parked. So we're going to check that real quick before we just haul off and sell the guy a battery. Okay, let's take off our permanent temporary battery terminal. So the truck is now powered down. I'm going to install another permanent temporary battery terminal right there, because we're going to use that to connect our roach clips to, right? So the negative lead on the voltmeter connected to this alligator clip guy, and that terminal just gives me a nice convenient connection point, right? So what we do, we're going to take our hot lead positive, unplug, move that over to our amperage side, right? There we go. And I think we're looking for, yep, DC amps right there. Okay. So then, here on the voltage side, just gonna shove that guy in between some of those wires there to make a connection. Get in there. There we go. Look at what we're doing. That's 0.65 amps right there. So the vehicle is pulling nearly half an amp. Yep. So we've got a parasitic draw on this Jeep. Something's drawing down the battery power. So now we need to find that. All right, let's check for some dome lights that are not on. Now, what's gonna happen, I need to go in there and see what's turned on and what's not turned on. What's gonna happen is we're gonna open the door and it's gonna power up the vehicle a little bit, and we're gonna see a voltage spike increase right here, or an amperage spike. So we open the door, there we go, 2 amps. So that was caused by everything inside turning on. Yeah, we've got a dome light, that one's out, and those 2 are turned on. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna simulate a closed door. We're just gonna close that door latch with a screwdriver. So since the door latch is closed, we should, this thing should time out any second now, and we will lose our amp draw. First things first, the radio is not powered on. I always look at an aftermarket radio first, especially. Radio is not powered on. A lot of times with an aftermarket radio installation, you can get the 2 power wires backwards. There's one power wire that's going to be constant power to the unit, and that's going to keep your clock and allow the CD to eject when it's turned off, things of that nature. And then the second power wire comes from the ignition switch. When you key the vehicle on, it will send power down the second wire, and that's the wake up signal for the radio. That's why they turn on when you hop in the car and turn the key on, because there's a separate circuit that's there just to wake the thing up. So you've got your primary wire and then a wake up circuit. If you get those 2 things backwards, then the wake up circuit stays on all the time and the radio will draw power even while it's turned off. Now, normally you'd never know that the 2 are backwards, except every time you shut the car off, the clock won't hold. When you key the thing back on and then both wires are energized, again, one full time, the wake up would be on full time in a backwards configuration. When you turn the key on, it then supplies primary power to it, then it all wakes up because it's allowed to function again. So the only telltale that you've got the wires backwards is the clock won't stay set. So you'll set your clock, shut the car off, turn it back on, then the clock's blinking 12 o'clock again because the keep alive and the primary power were flip-floppy. So I don't think that's the situation here, and we're still pulling over half of an amp, 0.580. So no lights turned on, don't hear anything running, no domes. I wonder if there is a light in the glove box. Yep, sure is. Look, see it? Glove box lights on. There it is. And the glove box light is on for this reason, because they have put tape over that to hold that thing in the closed position. Why doesn't it just turn off when we close the door? So we lose like over 250 milliamps right there just from that one light bulb. Yeah, that light's still on. So this is for some reason not contacting the switch enough. I wonder if I can get that switch out. Ooh, light bulb hot. Just gonna short the switch over or something, make it stay. I know. Paper clip. Let's see. Got a blue one and a yellow one. I used to have a whole bunch of paper clips in here. Where'd they go? Kids were here for sure. In a googly-eyed one. Okay, well, let's see if one of these is going to do the job. I choose the yellow one for high visibility. What I'm going to do is we're going to straighten out this paper clip, and we're just going to shove that thing in the crack real quick to hold this thing in the closed position. Stick that in there. It's not going to go in. There we go. Cool. 325 milliamps. We're getting kind of closer. That's still a little high. That's up there. But it's half of what it was. So let's find the other half, if there is another half. Let's see, no hood light. That's good. Start pulling some fuses, I suppose. And I come back with a fuse puller device, and we lost our draw. Look, gone. That's actually fantastic. I'm assuming there's a module here. Power that back on. Yeah, I would assume there's a module. BCM. Yeah, I think BCM's doing it. Let's open and close the door real quick. Stick a screwdriver in there, pull the door handle. So we're locked. See that? Locked. And then I pull the handle, unlocked, or latched rather. So with that thing unlatched, all the lights went on. There's our 2 amps again. Let's go ahead and close the door. There we go. Wait for the dome lights to time out, which I will edit that part out so you guys don't have to stand here and look at nothing. Two amps on our domes. A couple seconds later, down to 460 milliamps. The domes are now off, so let's shove in the paper clip. Shut off this light one more time. Light is off, paper clip installed. So, tired of walking around that. 200 milliamps. I'm gonna give it a couple seconds, and I expect the body control module to power down, and that 200 is gonna fall down to 1/10 of what we're looking at. Let's time it out one more time. Oh, a little closer. There it is, we caught it. Woo, that was it. Beautiful, caught it on camera. Nothing. So our problem is a bottom of the barrel bargain battery from Bob's Parts Store and a bad switch with faulty tape. So the problem that we had, being the switch, is not exactly fixed. I wonder if I can just get the dang thing unplugged and just remove the whole switch from the equation. Okay, didn't film it, but I went in there and disconnected the switch. See the connector right there above the light bulb? I disconnected the switch because I guess the failure on this is that it's either the switch is just super sloppy inside and is not closing all the way, or this is worn out enough where it's not staying up enough to keep that switch depressed. So I unplugged it. So with that thing unplugged, the body control module should be on right now because I had it open. No, we're not drawing anything. Good. So we don't have to check fuses for additional draws. I've solved the actual problem. Yes, I can probably replace the switch, but it's not going to change it because it's not the switch's fault. The switch is doing what it's supposed to be. So now what I got to do is tell my guy that I have fixed the situation here, but I don't want to sell him a battery. This one is technically still okay. It's a functioning battery, it'll work, but not reliably, and longevity is going to be massively reduced because that battery is also, or has exceeded its service life. It's already been out there in the field. It's been used, it's gone through its life cycle. fired up pretty fast. The first time. Oh! Hang on, I was not thinking. Okay, it was cranking fast. The fast cranking means the starter motor had plenty of juice, which means the battery had delivered it. I wonder if I didn't have it in the right key position. Yeah, it didn't really want to start. Okay, well, whatever, I fixed it. So now we know problem is the battery or the vehicle had a draw. The draw was hard to find. Nobody would have thought that, but I found it. This battery's okay. I think we do need a new one. Let me call the guy real quick and see if we want to replace this battery. Okay, one phone call later. I forgot to shut this off. I'm gonna go ahead and chuck that new battery in this thing. We're gonna tidy up these cables a little bit as well. That's not looking great, so I'm going to replace this temporary permanent connector in with a new set of temporary permanent connector ends. The only thing I'm not liking here is how much wire I've got to work with on this ground side. That's not the greatest, but I think I can get it to make a good connection in here, and we'll keep this thing alive for a wee little bit longer. I'm actually going to keep this connection terminal. These are different sizes. Negative side and positive side is a different size. All of these, the majority of these, unless you buy marine ones, they're going to be in the smaller size, and I don't like to hammer these little guys onto the bigger post. That's just the way that it is. I didn't design it. I don't sell them, but these don't fit that well on the positive side. I don't know why. So the rest of this is just gonna be easy peasy nuts and bolts, I guess. We take this part out and put a new part on, and then I have magically fixed the Jeep. Hooray! Oh, there we go. I think the hold down is not here. Yank that out. Beautiful. Back it up so I can have some clearance from a new unit. New one coming in. Heave this up, drop her down. Yeah, see that? That's what I'm talking about. That's the problem with these things. It's falling apart. Okay. Some folks like to cut these handles off. Some leave them. Oh, that's bad. Yeah, that's corroded up something fierce, I can say that. Kind of needs a new set of cables. One new one from here down to the engine ground, and then this one, I think this is probably primary ground to the chassis. Yeah. Well, let's go with it real quick and make some progress. That guy goes right there. That's what we know. Now, these are made of lead, right? Lead is a soft, squishy metal. Super duper soft. So when we tighten these things down, all we're gonna do is tighten it until we can visually see some clamp action take place right inside of here. If you tighten this down to these touch, you've stretched out this lead strap on the side, and it's just gonna work itself loose. See that? A little bit of torque on it. And that's all that you need. You just need to make it not come off, that's all. Yeah, I hate to do this, but I'm trying to keep the overall cost down on this thing. We are, I'm not gonna be able to do much with this unless I put a new cable on it here. I can cut this back and maybe crimp splice it and then add a piece of cable. I wonder if I've got one. Let me just see. Okay, this is escalating quickly because I am the way that I am. I did find a cable. I have a singular cable. I made this once for the auxiliary battery system in my truck. It's a high current oxygen free, 1 gauge, it's 1 AWG, and I remember I put these connections on the end of it. I made this to connect some batteries together, and I ended up not going with this specific cable. I didn't really care for it, but for a freebie, I think I can give you a supplementary cable in here. So since this guy bolts on this wire right here, that one bolts onto the engine block down there, we can bolt this cable next to it and we'll just run both. I'll run this cable up to the battery, and then we'll connect an eyelet to that cable to keep this cable intact, and then we'll connect additional eyelets to this cable, and then probably these ones too. That way we can at least bolt these wires on instead of just having them just kind of crimped in on this little plate smashy thing that they have here, which works, but not the greatest. Now, here's where you guys are gonna hate me. I don't have enough wire here to strip this back to like beautiful copper and make it all nice and perfect. It's just not there. I don't have anything to work with, which is why we're gonna use this cable, and an extra one, and put some eyelets on the rest of it. It's the best option for what we've got to work with without just doing a rebuild on the thing, because we don't need to do that. I mean, we totally could do that, but it's not exactly necessary, and it's kind of overkill for the situation. So I'm just going to avoid the unnecessary overkill right out of the gate. Does that make sense? I hope it does. It makes sense to me. So these eyelets on this are huge, and I'm trying to do this without the like hugest, most boatload of effort ever. So we're going to sandwich that eyelet in between the plate and the bolts, and then these guys can just go like so on said bolts. Okay, I need to make certain that the bolt holes and these connectors are going to fit the bolts on our clamp deals here. That will do. I accept this. Very good. Okay, so now we need to set up our little crimpy deal. This is the crimp device. It's a multi-tool. I believe that's right, and if it's not, then we will switch it to a different one. So this is primary engine ground right here. Shoved in all the way, yep. There we go. Okay, that was too big. So we need to step this down to the next size down. There we go. Re-crimp. Yeah, that first one did not crimp enough. Like, it made it, but it just wasn't enough. But that was ugly, fugly crimp. And that one didn't crimp properly either. Huh. Okay. We're just gonna crimp it again. I'll put a piece of plywood down and smash it with a hammer if I have to. Sandwich all these together. Yeah, buddy, that's good. And now you can kind of see how we're doing that. So supplemental ground wire, the actual ground wire, and now let's go find a spot down here at the motor mount to install the other end of the ground wire. And I choose this motor mount bolt right down there. That's a perfect spot. Now I don't have to worry about a live wire because this is ground side, so we're not in any kind of danger. I'm just gonna run this thing down here. Take that out, put that through, put it back, point it somewhere where it's not gonna ruin the oil change guy's life. And I'm gonna flip it over because it wasn't sitting very well on that flat right there. Did you see that? So flip it over a little bit. Now it can sit like so, nice and clean looking. Clicks. Okay, that's good. So we got an extra ground. The primary ground, wires routed, kind of hidden like. That's not horrible. There's plenty of slack in it. There's no danger here. So let's eyelet the second one, and then we'll eyelet these ones over here. By the way, real quick, pro tip, do as I say, not as I do. You see this right here? See what I'm doing right here with these wrenches? This is actually bad. This is a horribly bad practice because all I have to do is move these ever so slightly the right way and it's gonna contact post to post and create a short. And a dead short at the battery post is a very bad day. You're gonna get burned. It's gonna hurt your eyes. Might burn the car down. Just don't do that. I realize I'm doing it right in front of everybody. And I said, do as I say, not as I do, because my complacency has put me in a position to be okay with things like this. I shouldn't be, but after a couple decades of doing the same thing, you get a little laxadative on a certain amount of things, and I do suffer from complacency. Mostly sometimes. Like, there are times when complacency, I'm aware of its existence and it's a life or death type of situation. Like when I'm setting the rack arms and walking under heavy things, you know. That's why I have rule number 1 of not dying at work. So some of it I'm selective, some of the things I ignore, and some of them I do take seriously. I should take battery safety more seriously, but complacency. There you go, double crimp on that. Okay. You know, I wonder if some tape would be in order too. Not really. No, I'm not gonna put tape on it. Tape gets all gooey and gross. I'm not gonna tape these. I'll just leave them. They're okay. You spin me round, round, baby, round, round. Okay, so they can't move, so it's not going to wiggle loose. That's tight. And I saw the whole deal move a little bit, so I'm just going to give it a wee little bit extra. There. All right, good to go. So we're going to wrench and repeat on this guy right here. Then we'll go ahead and just check some, I don't know what that is. We will check, gross. We'll check the running voltage under load with the tester one more time with the new battery installed. Let me just wire wheel this real fast. My safety splints are engaged. No fear. Nice and shiny-ish. Better than it was. Okay, so this guy can go right back there where it lives. That's your permanent home. Hammer it on because physics. There we go. These guys. I need to cut some of this back. There we go. Okay. I know you can't see. I gotta hold it all together, sorry. And then use my abdominal muscles here to make the crimp. Yarr! There it is. That one's good. I like it. I find it acceptable-ish, mostly. I realize that it might cost some points at the car show. I get it. I get it. But I'm trying to be practical here. This one's getting 2-stage crimps. That's the real one. That first crimp, I crimped at the flare. See that little flare right there? I crimped that down. I had done it with the other two. I don't like the flare on these. I wish they were just straight cut. Okay. Yes, I did cross those wires on purpose. You know that? I think it looks better that way. It's a smoother transition. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna tighten these guys down, reach inside, fire this thing up. I'm gonna reconnect the tester one more time, and we're just gonna see what kind of voltage this nadir is able to produce on this battery at 300 amps load. That's a little extra, but it's for science. So let's get all the goodies out of here. Ruh-roh. I forgot whatever this wire is for. Oh, this is I think this is the starter wire or something. It runs Yeah, this is the power wire going to the starter button. Look, see, it's right there. It runs over here, that way, into the cab, and then back out, and then down to the starter solenoid. I have to put this on. Oopsie, there we go. It's like it never happened. I like it. Okay, let's go back and hit the push button. Restocks the engine. And then we'll check some electron flow here. Started up very nicely. All right. Time for the amps. Sure. Voltage is 13.3, 13.4. Here, real quick, let's stage the extra power real quick. We're just gonna hook up the negative side, right? Cranking it up. $10.5. It's hanging on to it. All right. Let's crank it up. Nader came on, you heard it. Let's go ahead and give it, which are 300. And we dropped down to about 10.6. That's our timeout alarm. I'll take that. 11.5, 11.4, somewhere in that zone. All right. Heat. Well, I think that's gonna be about it for this one. I've solved the problem, found the problem that we didn't know we had, prevented a future problem from being another problem. So I think I'm cool with this. I realize it's not the most aesthetically pleasing thing ever, but from a price point and for what they got out of the deal, which is peace of mind, reliability, and longevity, I'd say that's fine. If this was my Jeep, I'd do the same thing, and that's how I like to treat the cars here. If it was mine, what would I do to it? Because I wouldn't want somebody to treat my car in a way that I wouldn't want it to be treated, and I have standards. I can smell you. Yeah, I smell that nader in there. I got everybody nice and cooked. So what I'm gonna do, we're just gonna leave this alone, let it run for a little while, charge that battery back up, because we did deplete it ever so slightly, and then gotta air that tire up again, then this thing can be sent on down the ROAD. So that being said, I do not believe I have anything more to offer you guys on this particular video, other than a thank you for watching this video. As always, I would appreciate it if you could let me know what you think about this operation and this repair in the comment section down below. Please do not forget to engage that like and subscribe button while you're down there. And most importantly, don't forget to unlatch your door jambs before trying to shut your door. Because if you don't, what's gonna happen, I think I got it, what'll happen is it'll slam into the doorstop. So guys, end the video, end the day. Thanks for watching one more time. Looking forward to your comments down in the comment section below. If you'd like to see any more content on this channel, just check one of these links right here that's gonna pop up at the very end. That'll take you to one of my featured videos. I select those myself usually, mostly, some of the time. And if you do go over there, much appreciated. I appreciate your viewership and your memberships and sponsorships and subscriberships to the channel. As always, one more time, thanks for watching. See you guys later in a video, in a day, in a Jeep, in a transmission.